Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of r/Entitled Parents. In today's episode, entitled Mommy, don't buy chocolates, it's upsetting my kid. I'm a severe germaphobe, and I just saw a dad let his child pee right in a parking space at my favorite Target location. My dad is beginning to act entitled to things I make. Before we get started, make sure to subscribe so you will never miss a video. So let's get started. Entitled Mommy, don't buy chocolates, it's upsetting my kid. This happened about an hour ago. I was grocery shopping and decided to pick up a few bars of chocolates. That's when I heard the ear-piercing scream of what can only be an entitled kid. He looked like he was somewhere between 5 and 6 years of age. He began to violently pull on his mother's arm, pointing at my chocolate bars and yelling at her to buy him some. Entitled Mom, did you have to pick that up in front of him? Me, What? Can't you see it's upsetting my child? Me, well that's a you problem. Sad face. In between trying to get her demon spawn to act like a human being, you need to put them back. My son only started demanding chocolates when he saw you take them. Just put them back. Now. You can get some later. You shouldn't make kids jealous. I just smiled at her and approached the chocolate shelves. But instead of putting them back, I actually took a few more. It earned me a death glare from and earned another round of tantrums from EK. Petty? Yes. Satisfying? Hell yes. Oh, you forgot the coup de grace. After you paid for them, in front of her and the child, open one up and take a long slow over dramatic bite, then walked off. Then say, if mommy really loved you, she'd buy you chocolate. Plot twist, she works for the chocolate company and just upsold you more chocolate. If that's true, she deserves a raise. They should hire her kid too. If mommy loved you, she'd buy you some. I mean, that's a pretty bratty kid if they are gonna throw a tantrum because a random stranger gets something they do not. Pretty messed up to think they can tell a stranger to not buy something they want. The exact opposite happened to me. I had my kids in line and my youngest, 2 at the time, is crying asking for candy, pushing a full-blown freak out. The lady behind me goes, here. Just give the kids candy. And tries to hand my kids candy. I look her dead in the eye and say we do not negotiate with terrorists. I have good kids because it is about the war, not the battle. I have a friend with an entitled child, almost 2. She's always been a little entitled herself, and I'm really hoping it wakes her up, but instead she just keeps doing things to pacify the kid, and I'm genuinely terrified of what that's gonna look like in 10 years. Good for you for grabbing that chocolate, treating yourself and exposing the entitled parent/child. I'm a severe germaphobe, and I just saw a dad let his child pee right in a parking space at my favorite Target location. I'm a germaphobe, and today after going to a therapy germaphobe session, coincidentally, I did a quick walk into my local Target to grab some stuff. Then when I was leaving I saw a dad in the parking lot put his son's pants down in the parking lot and his son peed. And not just a little, it was a huge puddle, and the urine was splashing everywhere. It was like someone pouring out an entire jug of apple juice onto the street. The dad looked both ways, then said time to go, picked up his kid and placed him in the back seat. The kid literally peed in front of the back right passenger door right on the guest path where one would get in and out of their car. Absolutely disgusting, and I'm so scared to even go back to this Target. I was even gonna apply for a job here and everything, but as a germaphobe I fear that the next driver who parks there and gets out of their car will step over the pee and spread the germs throughout the store and parking lot. If it makes you feel better, you are extremely unlikely to get sick from a child's urine. Even though it's gross, there are very few diseases spread through urine, especially from a healthy child. You're more likely to get sick walking around the store than you are from the pee. And to combat that, just wear a mask and wash your hands. Wearing a mask should be a major thing for a germaphobe. I'm kinda one after COVID started, and I haven't been sick in years now. Masks work. Retail is not for you. That was exactly my thought process. Like, imagine the minute this dude is told by management to clean up the diarrhea going up the aisles in Target. He would cry. If that bothers you, please do not have children or work retail. That is by far one of the least disgusting things you will see. The money you will deal with is far more disgusting than that. On top of it, people will bring their germ-infested children into the store all day long. I have had people vomit in my store, poop all over the bathroom, bleed all over the place, leave diapers on shelves, and that is just a few things. I personally have purchased a travel potty for my children, and it has been the best purchase ever. It keeps my 4-year-old from having to go into the nasty bathrooms. Or when people count their bills by spitting on fingers to get a better grip. Retail is definitely not for you. People go shopping when they are sick. They cough and sneeze. Sometimes they use tissues or handkerchiefs, sometimes they don't. Such is life. I have had people cough in my face from 2 feet away. Like phlegm and spit hitting my face mid-sentence while speaking to said customer. Retail is not a place for a germaphobe. That's not me being rude or ableist, that's me being real. There are so many inconsiderate people that see retail workers as less and expect you to clean up after them, no matter how gross. I want to sympathize, I really do. I work with a germaphobe. She's a lovely person. Horrible to work with. Abysmal. Hate it. Everyone hired to work under her quits in a week. I luckily don't have to deal with her much, but when I do, it's a nightmare. Should he have done that? No. Should that mean you'll never go back? No. Someone has peed in every parking lot ever. And at a Target? I will bet money that diarrhea trailing the aisles is a monthly occurrence. My dad is beginning to act entitled to things I make. For context, my dad, 64M, used to volunteer to coach track at the same middle school where my mom teaches. Because of this position, he ended up meeting a lot of students from my grade and below for years. Sometimes he'll ask me, "Do you remember so-and-so?" And sometimes the answer is yes, and sometimes the answer is no. I've gotten back into crocheting recently, and around mid-September Dad asked, "Do you remember John Smith, not real name? He was a year below you in high school." I tell him no, but to go on with what he's saying. He tells me that John Smith and his wife are having a baby, and he thinks it would be nice for me to make a baby blanket for them. At first I happily agreed because I love babies and I already had the perfect yarn for it at home. Later on in October, my dad asked how it was going and only then tells me the baby is due in November. I started panicking a little, so when I got home I was ranting to my husband about this sudden deadline because I had been working on scarves for people for Christmas and suddenly had a new thing due sooner, and my husband asks, "Why are you doing this for him? Do you even know the guy?" I admitted that I didn't, and my husband said I didn't know my dad or this John Smith guy anything, and that if my dad wants to give the guy a blanket so back, he can go buy one. I even pulled out my yearbooks from junior and senior years of high school, and there was no John Smith in any of the grades for either year. I decided to not make the blanket. Cue this past Sunday, when my dad said, "I need that blanket," didn't ask, just said he needed it. While we were out for lunch, I calmly said that I was working on Christmas scarves for people. Dad replied, "The baby is due in November, Christmas is in December," as if I didn't know this. I calmly said, "Dad, I don't even know the guy," and Dad got all frustrated and said, "Never mind, just forget about it," with an annoyed tone. We continued lunch, and at one point I mentioned hoping to purchase a sewing machine someday so I can make t-shirt quilts, one for shirts I have from events in my life, shirts that basically can't be replaced and are special to me, and one for my state t-shirt collection, hoping to visit and collect a shirt from every state. My mom mentions I can order some shirts online for states that I've been to but didn't get a shirt, and Dad said if he'd known he would have grabbed me one while he and my sister were in Minnesota last month. I thanked him but explained I wanted to visit the states myself. He grumbled something and then said, "You know what would be cool? A quilt made of all my t-shirts from insert favorite college football team, and smiles at me. At first I liked the idea and said, if you can get them to me I'll try, but the more I think about it the more I don't like that his attitude tends to be telling me to make things rather than asking if I can or even want to make them. One of my SILs asked me for homemade things because apparently, it was in. Luckily, I had seen her reaction to things that weren't from a factory and wrapped in a lot of plastic before she asked me to knit a sweater for one of her kids. So I declined. She obviously valued homemade things at approximately zero and so felt it was very unfair if you didn't also buy something. To her, homemade things are just something extra on the side. I am not spending 30 to 50 hours and euro on something that is then valued as less than some €5 tat. Good lord, that's ridiculous. My friend's grandmother, who has never met me, crocheted a blanket as a wedding present for me, and I love it so much, so does my cat. I'm fine if making something is my idea or someone asks nicely and is willing to buy the yarn themselves or pay for my time, but just straight up telling me is starting to bug me. I'm a crocheter and I constantly have family demanding I make things. When they do this I tell them a price of amount of supplies x3, and that usually stops them. But my dad is my superhero. He's a mechanic and journeyman. The typical rough and silent type. I am a tomboy and daddy's girl through and through. I grew up in the garage and the only girly activity I really do is crochet. My dad never asks me for anything, so when he asked for scrubbies for his workmates I jumped at the chance and told him it was free. He still insisted on paying. But to everyone that thinks they're entitled to your hard work, give them the price of what a store would actually charge for labor and materials. I crocheted a bag for my father as a get-well gift after he had a stroke. I told my mother I was about to mail it out, and she started telling me that she deserved the bag more, that she would enjoy it more, that I should just give it to her, and that she was just going to treat it as hers instead of giving it to my dad. I told her I wouldn't send the bag after all, and she got pissed that I was taking it away from her. She felt it belonged to her, and it didn't matter what I wanted to do with my own creation. I can see why you wouldn't want to commit yourself in the future to projects for people you don't even know, but you happily agreed to make this particular blanket apparently without discussing timelines, so I understand why your dad is waiting on this blanket. Your dad isn't the entire problem. When he mentions this stuff, you don't tell him no. You tell him yes, which commits you to follow through, or you'll try, which commits you to actually at least try. This isn't all on him. If you don't want to do this stuff, you need to make that clear to him, instead actually agreeing to do it. If you made it to the end of the video, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe and share, and we will see you in the next video.